What if the coin that everyone calls a snooze fest suddenly whiplashes from $2 to double digits while you're scrolling memes? Blink and you might miss the biggest "I told you so" moment. So picture this. I'm sipping lukewarm coffee at 2 a.m, doom scrolling like the responsible adult that I am, when my chart throws a tantrum. XRP, the perma underachiever that half of the internet loves to dunk on, is flashing green in a way that makes my sleep schedule look even worse. Now, right now, it's hovering at around $2.20 something USD, give or take a couple of cents depending on which tracker you refresh. And yeah, that's hardly Lamborghini money, but stick with me because an analyst called 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏 just dropped a thesis that feels less like technical analysis and more like throwing, at least foreshadowing I should say, in a kind of Marvel post-credits scene. And so here's the wild setup, right? Every single year since 2017, XRP's yearly candles have been going and doing a kind of little dance called the bullish engulfing pattern. So imagine one tiny red candle getting completely swallowed by a Godzilla-sized green one. Now, it's kind of like watching a shy kid, pull the sword from the stone and flex on everybody. On the kind of 20-month chart, or at least the 12th monthly chart, I should say, that pattern keeps repeating itself. Tiny, bearish blip, then giant, bullish gulp. Now, the first time that we saw it, its 2016's candle was less, or at least down less than 1%, and 2017 answered with a mind-blowing 33,000% surge. That was 33,000. So let me kind of get that number, marinate it for a second. If your paycheck grew that fast, you'd be filming this video from space. Naturally, the crypto world shrugged it off, because we humans have the attention span of a goldfish in a rave. But 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏's argument is actually simple. The bigger the time frame, the louder the fireworks. Now, a bullish engulfing on the one-day chart might buy you lunch. On the yearly chart, it might pay for the restaurant. And according to his math, the 12th candle, the one that just closed, it fits the pattern perfectly, which brings us to the 13th candle, aka the one that we're inside right now. Now, it's like it's already green, up roughly 6.5%, and if history rhymes even just half as hard as it did in 2017, well, we could be staring at an 800% rip that punts XRP to $17. Now, $17 sounds great, but 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏 adds two neon price tags that makes Reddit threads hyperventilate. $13 and $22. So picture three diagonal lines on the yearly chart then. Think of them like the rails of a skate park, right? The lowest rail has caught XRP every single time that it face planted. The two top are resistance lines that send price back down like a kind of parent catching a toddler before it cracks, or at least I guess tackles the stairs, I should say. Now, the midpoint, of course, between those rails, that's where you guessed it, right? Right round $17. So if the kind of momentum overshoots, we kind of smack the first rail at 13. If it gets cocky, it slams into 22. Either way, it's double digits. Now, before you go ahead and mortgage grandma's house, 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗏 kind of throws cold water on the hype. Now, he calls everything between $1.85 and $3.40 just market noise. Now, in other words, if you see XRP bouncing or like a kind of ping pong ball in that zone, don't write emotional breakup kind of letters to your bag. But and it's a big but, right? If we close below $1.85, pack it up, pack it in, right? Bull run is over. That's kind of the alternative here. Now, alternatively, of course, we could land a daily kind of close above $3.40, and the rocket ignites sequence, and starts the kind of double-digit kind of dreams. And the double-digit dream comes into view faster than maybe you can say, "Where's my ledger?" So why isn't everyone already FOMOing in? Because crypto memory is short and the legal soap opera never ends. Now, the SEC still looms like the final boss in a JRPG, and every headline is either Ripple wins or Ripple loses, depending on which lawyer wakes up cranky. Now, that uncertainty, it kind of drags like ankle weights, right? Pair that with Bitcoin flirting with six-figure highs, sucking oxygen from altcoins, and suddenly XRP looks like the kid picked last for dodgeball. Yet charts, they don't care about popularity contests. They care about math, and math says bullish engulfing candles on the yearly chart don't show up to play Tetris. Okay, so here's where it gets personal. Back when XRP first rocketed in 2017, I was the genius who sold at 40 cents before the pizza delivery app started accepting crypto, and I wanted pepperoni. It's a true story. Now, watching the chart go vertical afterwards kind of felt like realizing you'd left your phone on top of the car and it's now somewhere on the freeway. Now, that sting taught me a lesson. When multi-year patterns repeat, treat them with respect. So let's fast forward to today. I'm older, deliberately wiser, and, definitely more caffeine dependent. Now, I track these kind of engulfing candles like a hawk, not because I hope, lightning strikes twice, but because probability loves repetition. And that's kind of the real hook here. If something happens over and over across nearly a decade, maybe, just maybe, it's not a coincidence. Now, maybe it's actually coded into trader psychology, woven into the market's DNA like a weird genetic quirk. Now, of course, the problem is patience, right? We're a species that microwaves coffee, because 50 seconds feels just way too long. Now, waiting for a yearly candle to confirm is kind of like binge watching a show where each episode drops once a month. You'll be tempted to chase shinier coins, and Twitter's constant stream of AI token 1000x threads won't help you. But zoom out. A price stuck at $2 while the macro chart hints at 13 or 22 is like a slingshot pulled back so far that it creaks. So let's sprinkle in some stats so that your attention doesn't wander. According to CoinMarketCap, XRP's daily trading volume still clears $3 billion. That's not some liquidity ghost chain. That's a top 10 coin with an army. Meanwhile, of course, Yahoo's historical data shows a gentle staircase of higher lows since late 2024, despite endless legal noise. So in plain English, while the headlines scream danger, the chart quietly builds a solid foundation. But charts can't rally alone. Sentiment needs a spark, and that's where catalysts like an SEC settlement or even the rumor of one can become rocket fuel. So picture the day that the judge, whoever kind of bangs the gavel, and Twitter alerts, well, they will explode. The price might jump so fast that you'll reload the page just to make sure it isn't a glitch. Now, that's kind of why you plan entries before the chaos, not after. Make decisions in calm seas, and everyone's a genius during a tsunami, right? Now, before you kind of, at least they kind of get punched in the face by a wave, that is. Okay, so quick pit stop. If you like level-headed chatter without the kind of Twitter echo chamber, hit the link in the description down below and hop into our free crypto Discord server. That's kind of the one place I should say where kind of DYOR actually means that people share charts instead of just saying it after a meme coin rug. Now, we break down, setups like the XRP and 𝗕𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀 pattern, run live, screen shares, and argue about whose coffee brand produces the best candle wicks. Come and say hi. Lurkers are also welcome. Okay, so let's get back to the thesis here then, right? Let's humanize these kind of price points. $13, it is not just a number. It's a 6-pack of aeroplane tickets to visit family that you haven't seen, in years, bought with profits from a coin that people said was dead, right? $22? Well, you're paying off a chunk of student loans or funding the side hustles that you swear you'll start someday. Numbers only matter if they change real lives, so visualize what these price levels could actually mean for you. Tie them to a reason, not just a kind of flex tweet. And don't forget, right? If kind of closing between a $1.85 cancels your fireworks or cancels the fireworks, you need an exit plan engraved in stone. So set alerts, automate orders, tattoo the number on your cat, whatever it takes. But nothing crushes morale like riding a sinking ship because you were too proud to admit that the hull was leaking. Now, crypto isn't a marriage. It's speed dating with occasional soulmates. So let's address the elephant on the exchange floor. That's liquidity. If XRP does start its sprint, you'll see spreads widen and exchanges throttle withdrawals for maintenance. Now, that's kind of why I keep a small stash on Blowfin, the up-and-coming crypto exchange that hasn't crashed under load just yet. Here's a shameless plug though. There's a link in the description. Sign up, test the waters, maybe even place a cheeky limit order that looks ridiculous today but could hit while you're at brunch next month. Plus, they toss in perks for early users, and I'm never mad at extra trading credits. And so I can hear the question, is this just gradient of obsession rising? Good, right? Because everything that we've actually talked about kind of builds to one simple question. Do you believe patterns matter more than headlines? If the answer is yes, then your yearly kind of chart is whispering, right? No, yelling, in fact, right? That something big is brewing, right? So just imagine that you're at a kind of poker table and someone across from you keeps tapping the same tell every time that they bluff. After the kind of 5th time, you either call or you fold. History won't beg you, it will just kind of reward whoever was paying attention. Now, you might be wondering, what if this year is different? And it's a very valid fear. Markets evolve. Maybe AI bots have figured out how to spoof candle patterns just to troll humans. But even if odds have shifted from, let's say, 70-30 to maybe 60-40, that still kind of beats roulette, right? Probability isn't certainty. It's opportunity dressed up in statistics. And if the price does nothing, well, there's no harm in being prepared. The worst case, you learn about the yearly chart, than at least more about the yearly chart than most TikTok traders are yelling, send it. Okay, so let's bring this story full circle with a memory that honestly still stings. Back in early 2022, I laughed at friends buying Dogecoin at 14 cents because the joke was over. A month later, it tripled and one buddy used his gains to, propose in a hot air balloon. Meanwhile, of course, I was grounded, literally and financially. Lesson: markets love to embrace certainty. So when analysts like 𝗕𝗓𝗃 kind of stack years of data into a kind of coherent thesis, I'd rather respect it, position small, and let probability handle the fireworks. Okay, so let's cue the climax then. Picture waking up, rolling over, grabbing your phone like we all do, and seeing XRP at $9.82. Gap, wick, chaos, right? Twitter is a war zone of victory laps and cope threads, right? Now, exchanges kind of throttle. You remember this video and think, oh snap, that engulfing pattern thing. And the shockwave moment is paying off, or at least is the payoff that every chart geek lives for. And whether you're in or on the sidelines, you'll witness history being kind of written in candlesticks. So where do we land then? XRP is consolidating, in 𝗔𝗓𝗃, or at least what 𝗕𝗓𝗃 kind of calls market noise. carving higher lows, flirting with engulfing legacy that screams breakout ahead. Right, close below $1.85 and the fairy tale does indeed end. Close above $3.40 and we unlock the next chapter, double digits, right? Rails at kind of $13 and $22 and maybe, just maybe, a front row seat to an encore of 2017's absurdity. Now, all while, of course, the rest of crypto argues about meme coins, and SEC mood swings, and of course, Elon's latest tweet. So whatever happens, promise me one thing. Don't let hype replace homework. Mark your levels, know your exits, and talk it through. Preferably, with people who challenge, not echo your biases. Now, that's kind of why the Discord link exists. Use it. And if you do hop onto Blowfin at the same time, play with limit orders and don't chase candles with market buys, like you're kind of, swiping last minute on Black Friday. Patience prints money. Impulse prints regret. Now I can drink this coffee. Or not.